I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. I'm ready to be unleashed as fuck. Tired of the madness, done with the sadness. Gonna break free and be unleashed.
Hello, ambitious ones. We are Unleashed AF, and we have some useful shit for you today. Oh, and just some plain shit, too. Today, we're diving into building unshakable confidence and resilience, which we just decided before the show we needed to add resilience to this one because of what's happened this last week. But we're going to talk about solidifying your foundation, staying open to learning and evolving, and support systems. Just to remind you, I'm Deidre Beecham, Visibility Catalyst, and actually, I'm changing. I used to call myself a recovering nice girl. Now I'm calling myself a nice girl dropout. In my search for truth, I left my religious cult, came out of the closet, left a soul-sucking 20-year marriage. I believe he would agree. Over 27 months, I shattered my nice girl training, reclaimed my power voice, and built a life on my terms. And now I help soulful women to do the same in a fraction of the amount of time.
And I'm Jenny Badig, hypnocoach and human factors engineer. I empower people to tap into, kind of like that was a weird pause. But I empower people to tap into their subconscious superpowers to be used for good, of course, and to achieve their full potential. And welcome to Unleashed AF, the podcast where we help you own your greatness and unleash your authentic self. If you're enjoying our shows, be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, all the social media verbs, and drop your thoughts, questions, or suggestions in the chat or the comments, or even on our website, which is unleashedafpodcast.com. You can go to the page WWJDD, which is What Would Jenny and Deidre Do, and leave your suggestions and thoughts in there. So, yeah, we do this podcast for the people, and we do it live every week.
Except this week it's recorded because I'm not going to be around on Friday.
Right.
I'm going to do an event. But yeah, normally it is live every Friday.
Right. But we bring you fresh content, I guess was my intention in saying that.
Absolutely.
It may not be exactly live, but we do this every week so that we can keep it topical and
without fail. I don't think we even took Christmas off. We are crazy people. Glance back into last week's episode, just in case you missed it. We talked about hypnotherapy for self-worth, subconscious blocks to confidence. So please check it out. It's on YouTube and on Facebook at Unleashed AF. So we're going to talk about the week in review. We're going to try and make this quick. Holy cow.
Buckle up.
So, of course, TikTok went dark, if you're familiar at all with some of the social media engines. It went dark for roughly 13 hours, I believe. So sorry. For roughly 13 hours. And now it's back. And the first thing I notice is that it's being flooded with religious messages. And Snoop Dogg, who, of course, was at the inauguration, so yeah, it's been very interesting. It's not the same TikTok.
Yeah.
And of course, the next one, which I don't think either one of us really wants to say, but Trump was inaugurated. He is president. We were going to look for a little sound that went wah wah. That was my job. I screwed up. And on day one, a slew of executive orders to take away an unbelievable number of civil rights and liberties. I just saw your note. Go ahead and say that. That's hilarious.
And he did all that on day one, but those things that he promised all the people that loved him and wanted to vote for him so much, no grocery price changes.
Go down.
No, gas price is still well over $3 a gallon.
But those 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, they are in place. And I don't know if any of you saw, there's a huge brouhaha back and forth about whether Elon Musk did a Nazi salute. A lot of people are using Yeah, exactly. 2 times. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, no, 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 he was just saying hi. He's really excited. He's autistic." And then other people true. And then other people are saying, "Well, hey, we've got pictures of they're having Hillary while she's waving, like capturing her in mid shaking her hand and going,
Mhm.
look, she did it. Look, Michelle Obama did it. Look, Barack did it."
Oh my
Okay,
God.
so we're not going to show you a picture.
No.
This is the live feed. Of course, it's not live now, but at the time it was live. It was a live feed from PBS NewsHour, and it shows what he did. I leave it to you. We leave it to you to decide what was actually happening. But let's see. Let's go over to this is real quick. It's like 38 seconds. Let's take a look.
You know, there are elections that come and go. Some elections are, you know, important. Some are not. But this one, this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you. It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Sure looks like a Nazi salute to me.
Sure does. With
Um,
vigor.
Yeah, the grunt. And what's interesting, and you and I were talking about this earlier, but Fox News showed that same clip, but the very first Heil, they cut away from him and cut to the audience, and then came back. So they also got rid of that where you can hear him going they got rid of that sound. And what's really interesting, you know, you can argue all you want and say, no, he wasn't, no, this or whatever. What I can tell you, I have some people in Germany that I follow, and they said the very first thing that Germany did was they started taking down all of Elon Musk's images in museums, etc. They believe it was a Nazi salute, and they are having none of it.
Wonderful. How great for a country like Germany to be so progressive as to take immediate action against someone that shows those kind of tendencies. Who knew that Germany was more progressive than us now?
Who knew? Yeah, and in lockstep, um, Trump pardoned at least 1,500 members of the convict squad from January 6th, from 4 years ago. And this actually gave me a little hope to see the courage of people, and that is Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd, sorry. Bishop, put her name up there. What did I do? I just butchered her poor name. Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd. Where's that little thing we had made? Oh, there. Thank you so much. So and I can't remember exactly at what point during the inauguration she spoke, but
We're in the church, so it was part of the service.
Church.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was phenomenal. If you haven't had a chance to watch her from the pulpit, it was amazing. And I am not a churchgoer. I'm pretty anti-religion. And I love the meme that I saw somebody said, I thought I was an atheist. Turns out I'm Episcopalian because Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd is Episcopalian. Her presentation was just phenomenal. It was all about the love of Christ, and she directly addressed Trump and said that there are a lot of people that are scared in the country right now. There are a lot of people worried about their health, about their future, about the future of their family and their friends. And there are a lot of people worried about being killed as a result of him being in office. To please remember his heart and compassion, and to remember these people, and to remember who we are, and to have empathy for them and the pain and suffering that they are going through. And it was really wonderful to hear such beautiful words come out of a person's mouth, because we hear so much hate from the alt-right through Christianity.
Yep.
And here's this woman bold enough to stand up and say, this is the truth. Please remember this.
Yeah. Talk about being in her power voice.
Oh, it was amazing. And right afterwards, I don't know if you heard, Trump was asked what he thought of the sermon. And he first asked about, what do you think about it? You know, of course, that's his answer when he's not happy about it. What do you think?
Right.
And then he said, well, I just thought it was horrible. I just thought it was horrible. And he's now come out and demanded an apology from Bishop Budd for being so hateful and anti-Trump, which is not what I heard. What I heard was a woman that has compassion and empathy for people. And it was not an attack on Trump. She was imploring him to think about people, think about his humanity. And he took that as a direct attack.
Yeah. And the thing that is interesting about that to me also is how others react to it, right? Other people who I'm quite sure would claim to be heavily Christian, feeling the same way about attacking her, and that, you know, she doesn't represent them. She represents Christianity more than the vast majority of certainly MAGA supporters.
Yeah.
Because if you can't see that what she was saying is more Christ-like than his rhetoric, you might want to pay a little more attention to the teachings of Christ.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. It was fantastic. I actually started following her. And there's a lot of people that are following this woman just to hear the compassion in religion, when for so long we keep hearing about the hatred that comes out of churches.
Yeah, and really kudos to her. I mean, hopefully, I know it may feel risky to openly and outwardly support her after that, but I think it's important to do that, because
and I think it's important to remember that there's more of us than there are of them. They keep talking about this mandate. I'm sorry, but no. Won by 1.5%. When you look at all of the people that voted, they won by 1.5%. You can't compare it to all the people in America. Well, out of all the people in America, this is, you know, we won. Well, yeah, a lot of those people didn't vote.
Right.
So, there is no mandate. There are a lot more of us than there are of them. And I'm seeing a surge, especially after what happened with the executive orders, and people now losing their jobs and have lost their jobs, people that supported him. Because, you know, he immediately fired everybody that was under any DEI program. Fire is a strong word. He laid everybody off. He was like, you're done. You're on a leave of absence. You're gone. And basically setting them up to lose their jobs permanently. So, yeah, it's crazy, but there are more of us. And like that first law of on tyranny, or the first lesson from On Tyranny, don't give up before you're asked to. Nobody's asking anybody to you know, that anybody's going to be attacked if they follow her. And even if they do, you know, it's words. We need to stand up for each other.
Yeah.
Especially when somebody has the courage to stand up. We even more need to support those people.
Exactly. And that's why I guess I'm saying that's the more positive way of doing it. We can look at all the people who are now kissing the ring, and we can tear them down and say, oh, I can't believe Zuckerberg. I can't believe, you know, all these different people, Mika and Joe and all these people that have just oh, let me save my ass by now telling you how much you're great and we love you. That's sort of the negative side of things. But the positive side of things is building up the people who can stand within probably 10, 20 yards of him on the public
and look
stage.
at him straight in his eye as he sat there very uncomfortably. They did cut to him every once in a while, and the whole
Yeah.
lot of them. There was so much disrespect.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a little crazy. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm feeling even more firm about it now, is that we had decided that we want to start sharing some of these, especially women that are standing up and against the tyranny that we're facing, against the unbelievable cruelties that he and his administration want to pass on to the American people.
Yeah.
So we definitely want to lift up some unleashed women. And this week, Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd, and you are unleashed. You get
right.
our vote this week.
That's right. Agreed.
You want to put up her link one more time? And I'm sure she's in other locations. We just looked up real quick so that we could say, hey, here's who she is. So she's on Instagram. I don't believe that her presentation is on Instagram, but you can find her by looking for her, Marianne Budd, and just look for her. And she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Really,
And I'm
really sweet person.
hoping that the video of what she said doesn't get removed from all social media platforms, because I honestly refuse to watch any of the coverage that day. And I have not had a chance to actually see what she said. I saw little clips, or actually, I didn't even watch video clips. I saw posts about it with like a picture of her and then him, like her at the pulpit and him out in his seat. But I did not watch any of the video yet, and I truly do want to be able to go see it.
It is very worthwhile. It's worth your time to find it. It's very heartfelt. I felt moved by it because it did come from a place of love and compassion and empathy, our humanity, and just imploring with him to please remember that we're human. Oh, yeah, beautiful. It was really, really good.
She shot her shot to see if, like, at this point, it's almost like trying different things to see if anything can break through his narcissistic shell.
And it's not going to. It's not going to, because you just can't deal. You cannot reason with a narcissist. So the best thing that we can do is, and I know because I've dealt with narcissists in my life, the best thing we can do is figure out how we can find our own light as the narcissist tries to diminish all of ours.
Yeah.
And so originally we had,
it's almost like this is almost like the Avengers movie or something, because they're like compiling all these people together, and not that they're the good guys. They're not the Avengers. They're the ones the Avengers are trying to stop, really. And so it's not just one of them now. It's like they've combined forces in terms of billionaires with interests in U.S. policies, because it affects their bottom line, which is what they're most caring about. So it can feel like we're outnumbered. There's no way of getting ourselves in there, like inserted to be more powerful. But I believe that it's possible. And I believe that, like you said, there are more of us than there are kind of the other side. Certainly when it comes to oligarchy, like the people that are in those positions, those seats of power, way more of us. They just have a bigger megaphone. So we have to collectively bring our voices together to where we don't even need the megaphone that they have, which has become social media in addition to the regular media, which is funny because they keep talking about how the media is, jaded to one side. Well, now they've jaded the entire media, full, like regular media and social media.
They own it. They own it.
Yep. Yeah. Which is the opposite of what they were saying they wanted to do. Big surprise.
Yeah. So we thought we were originally going to talk about confidence, and we thought, well, let's talk about confidence and resilience, because it is really easy to focus on all the negative. We remember what the last 4 years with him was like. It was just a constant barrage, and this is going to be Trump 3.0. If you consider Trump 1.0 was The Apprentice, Trump 2.0 was his first term, and now we've got him again, Trump 3.0. And there are a lot of things he learned, but what we need to remember is there are a lot of things we learned too. There are a lot of those of us that understand how tyrannical this man wants to be. We learned a lot. There are organizations that are working hard against all of this. One such group, and this wasn't planned to bring this up, which is why I'm searching desperately for it right now. But there's a new group that started in order to help all of us to fight against the tyranny. And it's at democracy2025.org. That's democracy2025.org. And it's United Legal Frontline in the fight for our democracy. It is it got put up, I think in November. I cannot remember exactly when it got put up, but it got put up, and thank you. And it is a combination of attorneys and organizations all across the nation. And they're all speaking to each other to try and help to combat the legislation that is coming down, especially that goes against the constitutional law. But it's a neat little website. Here it is. We will fight for people, freedom, and our democracy against any odds. And it's a strategic hub to protect people and their rights against unlawfully having their rights, freedoms, and prosperity stripped from them. So, and I love this. We know the playbook, and we're ready to fight back.
Nice. I wonder if there are ones that are involved in. There's already, I guess, lawsuits that are coming up from 17.
The ACLU. Yeah, the ACLU already filed
about the birthright citizenship executive order. And the other organization that I was seeing some information about the other day was Southern Poverty Law Center.
Oh yeah, love them.
Yeah. So those are all good organizations, I think, to be aware of and support or pay attention to.
Yeah. And I think they're actually a part of this whole thing as well.
Probably, I would hope.
Yeah, it's a lot of, Center for Lambda Legal. That's a huge organization. National Partnership for Women and Families, Bend the Arc, which is a Jewish activation, National Women's Law Center, Union of Concerned Scientists. I mean, it's a lot of organizations. It's not just legal. People coming together saying we understand what's going on. National Immigration Project, Public Citizen, National Immigration Law Center. So it's a lot of organizations, over 350 organizations that have come together to fight. So there's positive things happening, guys. I mean, we're seeing a lot of the negative, but there's positive things happening, and all of us together, if we continue to fight. There's also an organization. I'm sorry, I don't have this one. It's called the National Strike. So they need 3.5% of the population to sign up for the strike before they can actually activate it. So they're asking for people to sign up. I'll bring it next time. I cannot think of what it was called right now. But they're trying to get people to sign up so we get a certain number to sign up so that we can strike just like other countries have done to fight against this. And I just don't want. I know it's very tempting to get down about this. I've been there. I've been to some really down spots, and but what I realize that there's also some really good things happening, and it depends on what you focus on. It'd be really easy to sit here and just focus on what happened with Elon, what happened with Trump, and what he did and what he said about Bishop. But we chose instead to focus on, we know about those things, but to focus on the good that Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd did. To focus on the fact that, oh my gosh, all of these people are coming together. Democracy2025.org.
Yeah.
that there's another site that's about, pulling people together and saying, hey, once we get enough people to sign up, we are going to strike as a nation so that we can get we can change this.
Yeah.
So we
And
all know
I think this was the last Saturday. Yeah. So this was since our last episode as well. There was a march on Washington that was on Saturday before the inauguration.
Mhm.
And there were thousands and thousands of people
Oh,
there.
yeah.
I have personal friends that were there. So it's not like I was just seeing on media and it was, blown out of proportion. No, I saw their personal photos of all
And
the
that's
people.
after a lot of people canceled. They decided not to go because they were concerned about the march that President Trump had requested.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of people out there. And from what I understand, that was not covered very well on media.
No.
But it happened. It was there, and there are people that are out there willing to stand up and stand out for the concerns of what's to come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into this today because I think this is going to be really helpful. We're going to talk about building unshakable confidence and resilience, so that we can battle these and get through these next 4 years, which is and I don't want to just survive it. I'd like to thrive through it, and I'm sure you would too. And we have.
And I think what that could even look like in terms of the government and our country. I mean, honestly, I think most of us would agree that there needs to be some changes in our government. That's part of how I believe this regime kind of got into place, is picking on the things that are not working well in the government. And so hopefully through this, maybe it's like you have to go through the fire to get to the other side of it and really get some better things going on so that we don't fall into this trap again. But yeah, I do actually have hope that if people, and maybe that's another thing to take into consideration, the more extreme he goes with things, the more people cannot deny that his approach is not what we're looking for. And so it can maybe get everybody kind of united. And it's almost in some ways similar to, when there's huge disasters like 9/11. It was a horrible day. Horrible things were happening that day. But people in the days that followed banded together and made positive change.
Beautiful to see.
Yeah. And so this isn't the same thing, that it's not like a completely unanticipated attack on the country from like a plane crash kind of situation.
Yeah.
So it'll be.
We knew it was coming.
But
we knew it was coming.
So it's not just a single event of explosion, but I'm certainly hopeful that this will help people band together and make a bigger, create a bigger voice for change.
Yeah.
And so,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of why we wanted to talk about this today, is how to not only stay resilient, but keep your confidence up so that you can be some of those strong people that are that voice for change.
So that we can be like Bishop Marianne Edgar Budd.
Right.
Amazing example.
Yeah.
And I know one of the first things that we decided we want to talk about is solidifying your foundation. Because I know a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, I have come across people who have said, well, you know what you need to do? You just need to be positive. Don't let any of that stuff come in. Just don't let any of that stuff come in. I mean, just to try to think, give him a chance. Okay, well, sorry, we've already given him one chance. And but we highly suggest you feel your emotions. Right?
Yeah.
Acknowledge your emotions. Feel them. Because if you don't, and I know this is one of the things that you deal with, Jenny, and I do as well in my work, is dealing with what happens with people when you do just kind of stuff those emotions and just kind of try to move on. They just come right back up, or they end up stunting your growth, because you're not feeling it.
Yeah.
I know for
It's very
myself. Go ahead.
difficult. It's difficult to move forward on shaky ground, right? Because now your focus is diverted. You're thinking about what you're trying to do, but you're also thinking about staying safe on the shaky ground. And so that also holds for things like emotional shaky ground. So if you haven't allowed yourself to really go through the feels, so to speak, on these things first, or even figure out what it is that you are experiencing, because sometimes these things hit buttons for us that we didn't even know that we had. So we got to figure
Yes.
out what those buttons are so that we can address them and it doesn't trip us up as we start to take action or try to move forward and become more active, or just, step into our own confidence and do what we need to do for ourselves. So absolutely. And it's sort of like even what we talked about a couple weeks ago with grounding yourself.
Mhm.
When you
Yeah.
got free electrons floating around, it's harder to get things done the way you want to. But if you can allow the emotional energy to sort of to take its course, flow out, so it's not bouncing around in you anymore, release it, process it, let it go, then you can move forward and be more solid and comfortable and confident in what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I was in Italy and I found out Trump had been elected, I did have to kind of push my feelings aside because I was in Italy and I needed to enjoy the fact that I was in Italy.
Yeah.
But when I came back and I got back to North Carolina, the first thing I did is I allowed myself to feel all of those emotions. I allowed myself to feel the angst. I allowed myself to feel the anger, the frustration, the fear. I allowed myself to feel all of it, and it was terrifying and horrible. But once I did, because I allowed myself to feel all of them and express all of them, it allowed me to process the feelings and then make a decision based on the fact that I'd faced all of this. Well, how do I want to move through this?
Mm-hmm.
How do I deal with the fact that this is all here, that all of this is here, but how do I want to be through all of this? Do I want to be down in this downtrodden, oh my gosh, and anger and fear? No, I don't. Is it there? Yeah, it's there. I felt it. It's all there. But I can make a choice where I'm going to focus. It doesn't mean it's not there, but now I'm going to choose to focus on this. If there's something going to happen and I might have to go feel that again, yeah, I know, but I've already felt it, and so I can process through it more quickly when it comes up because I've made a decision. I'm going to choose to live this way. I'm going to choose to live out loud, proud. Is that scary and dangerous and terrifying and all of those things? Yes, but I'm choosing to live in love. I'm choosing to live in a manner that helps my fellow woman, man, whoever it is, to help my fellow human beings. And that is a choice that I'm making, having gone through all of those emotions. But until I did, I just felt like just stuck.
Yep.
And almost like in a little black hole because I couldn't process the stuff. It was horrible.
Yeah. And certainly to be able to feel confident in yourself and to move forward with confidence, you need to feel solid about the movement that you're making and not, it's not like the fake it till you make it kind of situation that people talk about. It's definitely a stronger sense of confidence and a stronger ability to act and move forward when it's, like we said, a solid foundation.
Yeah, and it's a matter of not lying to yourself about, no, I'm fine. Well, I'm actually really good until I allow myself to think about all of those things. But we still have to operate in our lives. We still have to move forward.
Yeah.
So I can allow myself spaces to feel those things and not lie to myself and say, oh, well, it's all going to be good.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's probably not. Eventually it will. We're gonna go through some tough times.
Yep.
And I was trying to I'm sorry, I'm gonna take a little divergence here because I was trying to
Sure.
reconcile this. And I think Jenny and I had talked about possibly making this a show at some point, talking about this issue. But I was really having a tough time with, well, how do I be good and move forward in happiness and joy and look forward to the life that I want while this craziness is happening? There's all of this crazy, and shouldn't I be doing something about it? And it was difficult because I wanted, I have this future I want, and I understand manifesting. I understand that, if enough of us are manifesting, then we can get to that thing we want. But I think that's what's happening. If I manifest something, other things have to happen in order for that thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes along the way, it gets messy until you get that thing that you've manifested. And I think
Yep.
we're in the messy part, and we can't give up on that dream of living in a world that is beautiful and care and kinding and kind and joyful. We
Mm-hmm.
can't give up on that.
Right.
And that's part of building your foundation. Know what you believe, know why you believe it, and stand strong in it, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's going against what you're seeing.
Right.
And understanding that you may have to get your hands a little dirty as a part of this until we can get to that thing that we're manifesting, that future that we all want.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, this is reminding me of, I just worked with a client this morning. And part of what she was working on is her anxiety is so bad. It's created a struggle for her to breathe at times. Like she's presented with asthma,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of it is just anxiety induced.
Yeah.
And so the thing that came up for her today was, I was trying to regress her back to something in her past, maybe that caused some anxiety, and maybe that's where this is rooted from. She wasn't going to anything specific in her past, but the thing that came up was she felt nauseous. First, it was like, oh, there's some horrible smell. It makes me feel nauseous. There wasn't any actual horrible smell, but the key was she felt nauseous. And so I helped her process through, how do you get rid of that? What's the way to get rid of that feeling? And at first, she didn't think she had any power to do that. But I let her know, hey, we're in your subconscious. You have complete power over everything happening in here. So
Mm-hmm.
you can be Wile E. Coyote if you want, like call Acme up and get some kind of like explosives or whatever. You can do literally whatever you want. And so she was able to, I think she ended up using a magnet to pull it all together. Because at first she said, well, I want to burn it up. And I said, great, do that. And she's like, but then I would be burning myself too. I said, okay, can we contain it somehow? Let's pull it all together. Let's use a magnet, pull it all together so it's in one space, put something or some kind of wrapper around it that's unflammable, set the thing on fire, and then it's gone. And that worked for her. And at the end, I just remember her saying, it feels so weird. She's like, I just feel it's like there's an emptiness because that all that stuff that was in me so much was now gone. So you wouldn't believe how much power you actually have
Yeah.
to convince your subconscious, even just using imagery. Just the imagery of it worked for her. So we really can't, it doesn't change our outside world, but it changed her perspective enough that now she knows
And
she's
it changes
powerful.
the way you move through the world, and it changes
Exactly.
how much the world impacts you. Of course, the world is going to impact us. We live in the world.
Yep.
But enabling yourself to have a strong enough foundation that you can, what happens in the world isn't like whipping you around every which way and you get whiplash every time you turn around.
Right.
And that's depending on outside forming who you are. And instead, think about who you are so that you can form your outside.
Right.
Which goes into, I think, perfectly into this next part that we want to talk about, which is staying open to learning and evolving.
Yep. I mean, when it comes to the stuff that's going on in the world right now, I think part of that is just being aware, being informed of what's happening so that you don't feel blindsided by something when it comes up. Just be aware that things are changing, whether it's this administration or other ones, things are changing in the world, period. So we need to be aware as much as possible. You don't have to know every little thing that's happening in the whole world, obviously, but be aware of the things that are related to what can impact you in your daily life, people you love, things that are important to you, and not just what you hear maybe through the media, but do some research, do some digging independently, not just take in what's getting projected, but do some independent researching to find out more of what's really going on.
Yeah, and open about learning more about yourself, evolving. If paying attention to the signs. I truly believe, and I used to not always think this, but I truly believe that the universe is always working in our favor. It may not feel like it right now because of what's
Right.
just happened, but I truly believe the universe is always working in our favor. It's a matter of whether we choose to believe it, whether we choose to move towards that and learn enough about ourselves and the universe and the signs that we're seeing to pay attention. And, for example, I mean, how long have we known each other, Jenny?
3 years or so, 3 or 4 years.
Is that all? Wow, I thought it was longer than that.
Probably a couple more than that. We got to know each other better probably 3 or 4 years ago, but we've been acquainted for a few years more than that.
Let's say 4 years.
Mhm.
I've known Jenny for 4 years. Now, 4 years ago, I definitely would have approached anything that had to do with meditation, energy, vibration, frequency, any of those words. I would have gone, And now those words freely come out of my mouth all the time. Manifesting because I have learned and evolved and listened to the information that is coming out and how things that we used to think that were woo aren't. They're real. Just like there are things that we used to think were conspiracy theories that kind of aren't conspiracy theories. They're real too.
Right.
So be open to learning and evolving, making decisions, challenging yourself, because it's only through those things that you can keep moving forward and get to a happier place, a happier state of being.
Yeah.
Instead of being whipped around.
You've even talked several times, I think, about your process of going through menopause and ADHD thing has kind of popped up for you. I mean, you've learned so much about yourself. You know way more about yourself now than you did, again, 4 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever, because you've evolved too. So not only does the world around us change and evolve, we change and evolve. So even though we might think this is what works for me, this is how I'm going to do things, you got to be open to, maybe there is a different way that actually works better that I've never even tried before. So that's an important part of evolution and learning and growing as well. And even I know a lot of times people will say, well, I don't trust the science because it keeps changing. It's not about changing. It's about understanding, we have more information now. We can revamp our assumptions or our hypotheses or theories or whatever.
One of the beautiful things about science is that it is always changing, that it's always open to understanding truth, and that as we learn more, that truth gets adjusted to what we know to be true now. And that's a beautiful thing. And I love that. And I think it's a great segue into what you do. So you have a epic envisioning class coming up, and go ahead and share your commercial for this.
All right.
Are you tired of chasing dreams that never seem to materialize? Have you tried things like vision boards or just writing your goals on Post-it notes and leaving them around the house, but still not getting what you really want? It's time to engage your subconscious superpowers and take control of your future. An epic envisioning workshop will help you gain clarity on your goals, develop actionable steps to achieve them, and overcome obstacles and stay motivated. Join us and discover the power of intentional living. Transform your vision and dreams into reality. Go to hypnohuddle.com to see which workshop works best for you and register today. Take the first step toward one of the best investments you'll ever make. You deserve this.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
there's one of those, a live one of those coming up Saturday at 1 p.m. And then I think I still have another one scheduled in February sometime. So
And that would be January 26th? No?
25th, I believe.
25th. January 25th,
Yeah,
2025.
25th at 1 p.m. And then I can't remember exactly which weekend. It's another weekend in February. I think it's the weekend before Valentine's Day. So like the 8th or 9th or something.
Okay, so if you want to sign up for Jenny's Epic Envisioning, go to hypnohuddle.com and you
Great.
can find that there. I think it's the best vision board workshop I have ever done. It truly is different. Whoops, didn't want to do that. So sorry. I was just trying to get rid of the other one. What's wrong with me? So yeah, and this actually gets us into, in a weird kind of way in my head, gets us into support systems because, going to something like an Epic Envisioning workshop is actually a support system. It's a way of supporting yourself. It's a way of giving yourself self-care. Self-care isn't necessarily, oh, well, I'm going to the spa today. This is my self-care day.
Mm-hmm.
Self-care is so much bigger than going and having a spa day. It could be walking outside and grounding yourself. It could be, I don't know, exercising when you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, there's so many things that it is, but finding support systems that support you is going to make a big difference in your resilience and your confidence, as if you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah. If you feel, I mean, it just makes sense that if you feel physically and mentally and emotionally strong, it's going to be easier for you to feel strong about moving forward, feeling confident in what you're doing, just unshakable.
Yeah, and one of the ways also is to make sure that you have community around you that supports you. And I think that's something that we're really seeing now as we're getting tossed around in social media. And what I mean by that is we're finding out that there's a lot of censoring going on. We're finding out that we're kind of being pushed in different directions. And I think they're trying to see, whoever is in charge, whoever has the money, whoever has the power, is trying to see how much we'll take before we rebel. And it's really hard to rebel when you don't have community. And I think that's one of the big things that was really difficult about TikTok, is communities were really growing and changing, and we were becoming communities. And with the ban and changing the algorithm, some people lost their communities. And so we're finding that it's even more important. It's not so important just to find your community on a platform. Try to find a community around you. Because what if something happens, you get tossed off of another social media? Do you have community around you? Do you know your neighbors? Do you know the people down the street? Who are you around locally that can help to build your community so you have people to turn to?
Right. Absolutely. And it also, having that community not only helps along the way, it can help in terms of support. It can help in terms of accountability, which Deidre and I have started to do recently. It's working really well, helping keep each other accountable. But also it can go right into the idea of being able to celebrate when things go well, when you have a community around you, whether you're able to, pat yourself on the back or not, they can be there for you to help point out when you've had achievements or successes or accomplishments that you might just sort of like, okay, yeah, I did that, but sure, yeah, I did it, no big deal. They can help remind you that it is a big deal. you need to count that in your favor and not only focus on the things that like, oh, well, I didn't get that done today, or I didn't do that as well as I wanted to. Community can also help with that celebration aspect too. And that is important to focus on those things to keep I always think of like the scales of justice, and like if you have more in terms of gratitude and celebration for the positive things than you do worrying about all the things and how am I going to do them and what went wrong, then the scales tip and you stay in that confident, self-aware, self-assured way of being, and you can move forward and do more good.
Yeah, and I know before I started doing a lot of the hypnosis with you and using my nighttime mantras and things that I use in the music, before I really changed my headspace, um, I found that it was really easy to focus on negative things first and foremost. They seemed to always be top of mind. And it was because of that, because I was always focused on the negative things, and it just seemed to happen, like I was programmed that way to see the negative. Not only did I have negative things that I thought about, it was also really difficult for me to see the good things, for me to recognize when I needed to be celebrating about something. Or not even taking time to celebrate something. I was so focused on what's next, what's next, what's next. It wouldn't even take time to celebrate. And that's all part of, nice girl training as well, and polite society, because you're not supposed to celebrate yourself, right? That's considered arrogant or wrong. We shouldn't be proud of our thing. Yes, you should be proud.
Yeah.
You need to be proud of the accomplishments that you've made, and give yourself credit when you need to get that credit. I think that's one of the most difficult things that I had to get past was allowing myself to celebrate myself. And because I didn't celebrate myself, I found it really difficult to celebrate other women.
Certainly.
And I'd certainly celebrate them before I celebrated myself.
Yeah.
And that's not a good way to be. So it takes time and effort and a willingness to do it, but you can create community around you that's supportive, that you're not having to hide who you are from, that'll be there for you when shit goes down.
Yeah. And sometimes it may be a small community, sometimes it may be a large community, sometimes it may be local, sometimes it may be online. The composition of it isn't as important as just finding something that gives you that sense of community and support.
Yeah,
and acceptance.
absolutely. So we have, so building unshakable confidence, it takes time and effort. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate your progress. Remember that you're worthy of confidence and success, and you can build resilience. There are so many different ways to do that, and you can go and do research. It's so easy anymore. You go to ChatGPT and look up ways to build your resilience or ways to celebrate yourself. It's so easy anymore to find those things. And do you have anything else you wanted to share before we?
I don't think so. Here? I think we covered things pretty well.
Yeah, awesome. So next week, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think that's actually what I was referring to earlier. We're going to talk about next week, the spectrum of activism.
Yeah.
And as people, and I recently learned about this, is as people start stripping away, I'll speak for myself, as I started stripping away my own insecurities and I wanted to get into activism, I realized that there's just a broad swath of different ways that you can show activism. It doesn't mean that you have to get up and go to a march in order to be an activist. A lot of different ways to do it. And so we want to share that with you and some of the obstacles that you may come across. Yeah. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, follow, and share. If you have a topic or a question that you want to ask us, or if you want to be a guest. We don't have a lot of guests, but you never know. We may pick you and say, yeah, got to be on the show. So please visit unleashedafpodcast.com. Visit WWJDD. What would Jenny and Deetra do? We'd love to hear from you. And until next time, get unleashed. And what did we talk about today? Get confident, right? Build some resilience and find your community. It'll be well worth all of your time and energy. You take care.
Ciao.
I'm done trying to live up to others' expectations. Family, society, class, race, sex, or religions. It's time to break free from the isms that make us feel like we're in prison. I'm ready to be